11:19 a.m., Golden Court Community Room. The first item on the agenda is adoption of changes, topics not reasonably anticipated. Rich, do you have anything?
No, I said no.
Crystal, do you have anything?
No.
Sue, do you have anything?
I'm not sure if it's proper to bring it up at this time.
Well,
I do have something.
Do you have an agenda item that you could not reasonably anticipate 48 hours in advance of the meeting?
No, but I did ask you to put some agenda items on, which once again did not show up on our agenda. So I emailed them to you.
Yes, I know, and then I sent you a response and explained why. This is not the time to go over that back and forth. Maybe we can do that at commissioners' discussion or commissioners' or board correspondence if you would prefer. But now's not the time. So if there aren't any topics not reasonably anticipated from your point of view, do you have anything at all?
Nothing at all.
Is there anything that you would like to disclose?
No, nothing.
Nothing. All right. That is unfortunate.
Can we, excuse me.
Hold on. Sure. I am very sorry that you don't want to disclose, but we do have a topic that we need to put on the agenda regarding a perceived conflict of interest regarding you. So I will ask that the board make a motion and a second, and then we can vote to add it to the agenda. This has to be discussed today. And
Well, if it has to be discussed today, then I will discuss it now. If it has something that needs to be discussed today.
we still need a motion and
Right.
a second and a board vote to add a perceived conflict of interest regarding Sue Oppenheimer, our board member. Can I get a motion to add that to it? So we have a first
I'll
and a second. So Rich seconds, Crystal first.
Where do you want to put that?
And then we have to put it before any other votes are taken. So,
But I also would like to...
excuse me, just a moment, and I'll give you the floor in just a moment. Oh gosh, now I lost my train of thought because this
We're doing
is...
the motion and the second and then.
And now we need a vote. So, Rich?
Yes.
Crystal? Yes? Sue?
No. Well, I'm doing it now, so of course, yes.
Oh, okay. And then I vote yes, so it's unanimous that we add discussion of a perceived conflict of interest by Sue Oppenheimer, our board member, to the agenda. I will add it to be discussed now because it has bearing on the remainder of the agenda.
But I would like to not be interrupted when I talk.
You cannot speak
Because you
until...
usually stop
You
me.
cannot speak until
Right.
you have the floor. That's proper procedure.
Okay.
And I give you, Sue, since I've been chair, I have actually called on you as often as I've called on anyone else and you've had the floor. Your criticisms are not valid. So I will explain the situation to the board.
Okay, one more.
I would like to explain
wait.
it.
I need to correct something or elaborate on something. I believe that everyone's criticism is valid. It's their opinion and their point. So I just want to make sure that everyone's opinion is valid and their criticism is valid. Okay?
Please wait until you recognize.
Well, I just want to make sure that that's being spoken right after you say it, so this way everyone can understand. But I will go forward with that. Thank you.
But she asked me if I
Okay,
had
so-
anything to say, but she's saying it. I think I should be the first person to speak.
Right, but
Do
let
you
her
have...
let her do
That's
Sue,
why I should go
Sue.
first.
Sue, I offered you the opportunity to self-disclose.
And that's, you asked me, but not you
I have
self-disclosing, me
offered you
self-disclosing.
the opportunity to self-disclose, and I will offer it again. Offered it to you yesterday, I offered it to you this morning, and I will again offer you the opportunity to self-disclose. You have the floor.
Okay. Yesterday, when I was getting into my car, the chairman of the board came over to me and said, I hate to tell you, but I have to file an ethics violation against you because you flunked inspection on your housing, the yearly inspection for cleaning, and because of that reason, you were taken to court for it. And it's not right for a board member that ever was taken to court to be on the board. And she told me that I should call the Ethics Commission and speak with them. And I said, when the Ethics Commission contacts me, I'll be happy to speak with them, either by mail or by email or by phone call. And I said to them, I lived here 21 years. I passed 20 inspections, I've only flunked one. And most people don't get taken to housing court when they flunk one inspection, but I was. And then I said to you that I had cancer, and that one of the reasons that my apartment was as bad as it was is because of the fact I've been sick for some time. And you told me in the laundry room, when I was doing my laundry this morning, you came in and hassled me, are you going to talk? And I said, yes, but I want to tell my version, and I didn't know if it was right to tell it during this part of the meeting. I don't think my tenancy, we're always separating board from tenant from board. If I flunked a housing inspection because my apartment was bad, I don't think that has any reflection of me being a capable board member, a person who's shown up for over 2 years and was elected in a town election. I think that I think that you have a nerve to even think of calling it an ethics violation because my apartment wasn't in great shape. And I said to you in the laundry room, what is it about you that you feel the need to take your own board members to court? You took 2 of your last board members to the district attorney, and now you're taking me now you're saying I have an ethics violation. I said to look at yourself and to try to figure out why you have this desire to come after your own board members always. And that's why we lost some of our great board members, because they were being hassled to that degree, where you were threatening them always with violations. I don't want to be on a board where I'm constantly threatened with violations. And I don't think it's right that a tenant be taken to court because they flunked an inspection. I would look at the big picture. I'm holistically thinking how many years a person passed inspection, not the 1 year that they didn't pass inspection. And then to make it into such a big deal now, I went into mediation and I signed an agreement. But even that agreement is not enough for the housing authority. Now I'm still being haunted by a flunking of but not everybody here that has had really dirty apartments or cluttered apartments was taken to court. It's a matter of picking and choosing who they come after. And I happen to be a target because I have a mouth and I am an advocate and activist. And that's what I have to say. So do what you want. You can threaten me all you want with ethics violations, but I don't understand why you sit there at night trying to always think about what you can do to your fellow board member or how you can demean them. So many times you've demeaned me on camera. If it makes you feel good about yourself doing that, then continue it. But it's a horrible thing to do, and it's a horrible part of your personality. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
So I do think that this actually just shows now, the housing authority, the management of the housing
I'm
authority.
not asking for input. This was not asking the executive director for their input.
Sue,
This was
I
me
have
speaking.
recognized Pamela to speak. You no longer have the floor.
Well, I don't think it's right to have her be part of this. This is
You-
my
You no
thing.
longer have the floor. Pamela, as our executive director, please proceed.
So the housing authority just learned of this situation as far as a conflict in the reaching out to the housing authority's attorney. But I do just think that Ms. Oppenheimer illustrated the reason for the conflict is because she's using this as a bully pulpit, and the Housing Authority cannot acknowledge, agree, retort, deny any of the allegations that you just had, because it is, we treat our tenants separately from the board.
But she
So
was-
I would, no,
Yes.
no, so you just beat up the Housing Authority that you represent. So I see that there is a conflict.
First,
Right.
of course.
Sue, you must wait until, Sue, I have to be fair to every commissioner. Now, I allowed you to speak first because we're talking about something that has to do with you. You have spoken. I have recognized our executive director who now has spoken. And the next person to speak will be Rich. Do you have any comment?
No comment right now.
Crystal? Okay.
Maybe.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a little confused. As far as the code of ethics violation, how does that play a part into her apartment failing inspection and not being clean towards the ethics policy of this committee? I'm just curious about that.
I am so glad you asked that because now it's my turn to speak and I will say how this transpired. And so I wrote everything out because otherwise, it's just too upsetting really that a commissioner would do this. Okay. There's a perceived conflict of interest or ethical violation. And I have to report this publicly. I literally have no choice. I reached out to the Housing Authority attorney and was advised that I must report this in public today. I do have to say that if you had agreed yesterday to self-report, then I wouldn't have had to do this. But you refused yesterday. I asked you again this morning if you would please self-report, and you refused. So now I have to. It's the law. So on the advice of the Housing Authority attorney, according to the publicly available housing court documents, Ms. Oppenheimer is in what we call in housing court, in conflict with Hadley Housing Authority, upon whose board she sits to preside, to make, under her role as fiduciary for Hadley Housing Authority. Now she's making decisions about, if she's on the board, making decisions about the legal and financial policy interests and oversight of the executive director. Those are our only 4 things that we can discuss on the board. So that is the conflict of interest. You can't be, what the attorney said, you cannot be in housing court against the Hadley Housing Authority when you sit on the Board of Commissioners. You can be in housing court as a tenant, but if you're on the Board of Commissioners, then the proper thing to do is to recuse yourself from all the meetings until this matter is resolved. And once this matter is resolved, I mean, that would be, which could happen very quickly, by the way, but once this matter is resolved, then come back to meetings. That is what the attorney said. Now, the other piece is that, let me get back here. So even perceived conflicts of interest, and this is not even perceived, this is an actual conflict of interest because the public housing, the public records for housing court indicate you're in conflict. commissioners, above all self-interest, whatever that self-interest is, have a fiduciary duty, which is a duty of loyalty and a duty of care exercised in good faith to Hadley Housing Authority. That's our primary job. It goes beyond any self-interest, any personal relationships, any beliefs or whatever. We have to adhere to the law. It is not personal, it's what has to be done. And it's very upsetting. I'm sure it's upsetting to the entire board. So on the advice and instruction of the Hadley Housing Authority Legal Counsel, I've asked you to recuse yourself from the meetings voluntarily. The board can only vote to censure you, which just means to publicly rebuke. And that will, I'm going to call for a motion for that in a bit. The process after that, and just until your conflict of interest is resolved, which, by the way, could happen pretty soon. I mean, you could do whatever it is the court says you need to do and handle it. The next thing would be, so a motion and a vote for a censure, which is the public rebuke. And the reason we have to do that is because every board member here is liable. You all know now, we all know what's going on, the the housing court situation. And so we have to take a discussion and vote, or deliberation and vote for censure, however that comes out. If we vote for censure, that's just a public rebuke. It means nothing. Sue can still come. But the next step would be, and during this meeting, the next step would be to vote for a formal letter to go to the select board, because it's their responsibility to consider the evidence we give them. But here's the thing, we can also ask the select board to temporarily recuse Sue from attending meetings until she resolves her conflict of interest. And so not permanently. You had said to me, you're just trying to get me off the board. No. In fact, the board is better with you on it. However, we cannot not take action because it's a conflict of interest. If we do, we also become part and party to an ethics violation for which we could $1,000 to $25,000 fine each. So, so again, a motion to censure and a vote. A motion to notify the select board in a formal letter, plus the vote. And the third thing is a motion to, as a board, that we will notify, report the complaint to the Ethics Commission, which we have to do.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
Of course.
Let me
So
know.
I think I've delineated everything. And again, it's just a temporary recusal we would be asking the select board for. We, as a board, cannot recuse you. It's the select board until you resolve your conflict of interest. So let me go around again. Rich, do you have any questions?
The first part of it, the censor, meaning?
Censure, and that just means a public rebuke. Sue, unless the select board acts, there's nothing we can do.
Okay.
Except to publicly rebuke Sue for failing to disclose, which is it is one of the big reasons for a censure, is a conflict of interest, failure to disclose a conflict of interest. That's one of the biggest reasons for censure, C-E-N-S-U-R-E, y'all can look it up. But that's just a public rebuke by the board that Sue sits on. the next step again would be to notify the select board in a letter and ask them to recuse Sue for, I suggest, for only the period of time until she resolves her conflict of interest with the housing authority, which is the organization that we as a board have fiduciary responsibility for. And Sue has fiduciary responsibility for the housing authority too. So do you see why it would be important for her to be recused on deliberating and voting on any housing authority matter? Because she's in direct conflict with not only the housing authority, but the Board of Commissioners, until she resolves her conflict of interest, like I said, which could be resolved pretty quickly. And then the third thing is to report the complaint to the Ethics Commission. Because if we report as a board to the Ethics Commission, then we are absolved of any liability. If we do not report, then we're part and parcel of Sue's conflict of interest. Does that make sense?
Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
I understand. I'm
And
just wondering when it'd be.
so that's the attorney's,
No,
that's the attorney's legal advice. So the next person, did you have anything
Yes.
more?
So my question is, how long has Sue gone back and forth to court while she was on this committee?
The conflict of interest appears from the court documents, and maybe Sue, you know more.
Just one
No,
visit.
no,
Okay.
I'm asking, how long has she been going to courts while she was on?
It's not just the court. She's been in conflict of interest, according to the court documents, since July.
But she's still been on this committee since then.
She's been on this board since then because she
Right.
failed to disclose
Right,
in
but what I'm
July.
asking you, she has been on this board since July, and it's been a conflict of interest since July, correct?
Mhm.
Now, this new issue with her apartment, are you saying that this is in violation of the ethics committee? Or
No,
because she-
I don't
or
know
because-
anything about her apartment. I
Oh.
only know,
So this apartment thing has nothing to do with what you're
I
saying?
have no idea. All I know,
Has everything to do with it.
So,
Okay.
okay, so I'm just trying to understand. So everything you read,
Mhm.
and you stated in your notes
Mhm.
of when you spoke to the lawyer of why she needs to be recused and everything, right? Well, I just.
why she needs to be censured by this.
Well, before
Okay.
you said you asked her to recuse herself.
I asked her
So I'm just
if
saying-
she would self-disclose and recuse herself
Right.
voluntarily.
Right, so basically, the reason why this is going forward to the ethics committee, to the state, to the town board, is to get her off of the committee because of things that she violated while she was on the committee? Or is it because she's in court
No.
and that goes against the ethics of the committee?
That's, so when you take the ethics training, you'll see,
I did take it.
okay,
Yeah.
so that even the perception of a conflict of interest.
Right, but I'm asking, what is the conflict of interest? That's what I'm not understanding, because when I asked you, you read stuff, but it kind of veered away. So I just want to understand, so I don't, or anyone else.
Oh, okay. So
Does it?
when you are a commissioner.
Right.
And you're also a tenant.
Right.
Or receiving services from the housing authority,
Right.
from Hadley Housing Authority, you, because you're a commissioner, it's a conflict of interest if you end up in housing court.
Okay.
It's actually a conflict of interest even if you end up with a lease violation or.
Anything that's violating the policies and so forth.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so what you would do as like me, I'm the tenant rep commissioner, okay? So if I received correct me if I'm wrong, but if I received a notice of that I'm violating a policy or a lease violation primarily, if I'm receiving a notice that I am in lease violation, I immediately have to report it to the Board of Commissioners and say to the board, I will recuse myself until I resolve my conflict with the housing authority.
And that has to be made public
Yes.
to everyone of their
Does
violation.
not have to be.
Self-disclosures need to be public, yes.
Let me try.
What do you mean, self-disclosures need to be public? Why
The
would that be
Ethics
public?
Commission, according to the training and according to our attorney, if you have even the perception of a conflict of interest, you're required to disclose publicly. That's what the Ethics
And
Commission
that's
says.
why you asked her to recuse herself, so
No,
it
no,
won't be
I
disclosed?
asked her to self-disclose.
Yesterday.
And this morning, and then, because if all you do is self-disclose, you do need to recuse yourself.
Right.
That's the law from everything regarding the housing authority. Now, what do we do in a Board of Commissioners meeting?
So I'm asking, what if she would have done that? What would have happened now today? Would it still have been public? Would it be still going? to-
Yeah, she
Oh.
would still need to, she had to self-disclose and then recuse herself from attending. No, you can attend board meetings, but you can't engage in any deliberation or voting.
That's why I was just wondering, because if she's been on the committee since July, I mean, if she's
No,
gone
it
to
didn't go
court.
to court till it got changed, the court date got changed 3 times. That's why it didn't come till last month. It was, that's the original date, but the court kept changing it. It was just one mediation. And I had an attorney, and the housing authority had an attorney. My attorney never told me that I had to say anything to the Ethics Commission. We came up with an agreement. The agreement said nothing about ever contacting an Ethics Commission. This came out of her mouth yesterday for the first time. And she basically threatened me that if I don't report myself, well, then why did my attorney? I was represented. And then the housing authority had an attorney there too. Nobody mentioned anything about an ethics violation. You mentioned it. And how did you know that I even went to court unless somebody told you, because it was a private matter?
It wasn't a private matter.
Well, how did you find
Every
out then?
action in housing court is a matter of public record.
But where
Every
would you be
person-
looking at my record? Why would you be looking it up? I mean, where would you even consider looking at my name?
Every person involved in housing court, it is a matter of public record in Massachusetts. I've already explained how I found out.
So you're sitting there looking me up on record to see
No,
where
I'm
you
not
come
looking you up. I am not looking you
Well, then
up.
how did you find out that I even went to court? I'm asking you
I
that
am
question.
going to, that's not an issue here.
Well, it's an issue that my
The thing is, it is not your turn. I'm going to say, you're done for now, but
I'm not done yet.
I will give you ample opportunity to continue. However, Pamela,
I just want to point out too, that the disclosure is just that there's a conflict with the commissioner and the housing authority. The disclosure does not need to go into the details
Right.
of what's going on in
Right.
housing court. Though that does not need to be brought in front of the public. It's
Yeah.
just that there's a legal matter pending between the two.
and that is what I told you yesterday and this morning. You do not have to go into detail. All you have to self-disclose is that you have a conflict of interest with the housing authority. You do not have to go into detail. You, however, chose to go into detail. That's on you.
But you didn't tell me I couldn't go into detail either.
You can go into detail. You can, but
Right.
Pamela's not going to, and neither am I.
But let me just interject one thing. I had an attorney. If my attorney thought it was an ethics violation when we did our agreement, we came up with an agreement, so we didn't have to go back to court. The only reason it went back to July is it was when, it was 2 different times that it got changed.
You're digging yourself in way deeper.
No, I'm telling the
So
truth.
I would definitely reach out to my lawyer and ask.
So this
if you
ethics
can-
thing is something that came out
Okay,
of nowhere.
I think it's
Right, but-
inappropriate for
but
you
right
as a
now,
board
I would
member
just
to
do-
give some
Right.
legal
No.
advice.
I'm not giving her legal advice. I said to her, maybe she should speak to a lawyer so we can move on. I'm
Yeah,
not giving
let's
her
move
legal
on.
advice.
Okay, so I am going to ask for a motion. The first step is to censure Sue Oppenheimer for it's not even a perceived conflict of interest, but it is a conflict of interest to be in housing court with Hadley Housing Authority as a tenant and a commissioner. That's the first step. It's what's required of boards who have this sort of issue with a commissioner. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, can I get a second? Crystal seconds. I will, we've already had discussion. I will permit one more round if everybody could get their thoughts together. Rich, do you have anything further to say in discussion? deliberation. Crystal? I have nothing further to say, Sue. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I call for the vote?
Yes, I feel that, like I said before, I think this is a witch hunt to get me off the board. I think that this is retribution for going all the way back to the last board when we were trying to remove Pam as the executive director, and I think you were just waiting for something to come after me with, because I'm the one who put the ad in the paper to
This would be a brief violation right here.
Yeah.
Well, you're asking me what I have to say. I'm speaking how I feel. You can-
As I said, you are digging yourself way deeper.
Well, then then you can't tell the truth being on a board, then if you keep worrying about digging yourself. That's why the other board left, because you were always threatening them if they spoke the truth, that they were digging themselves in.
Their term expired, but
And I do feel that the way you threatened, that we did it in a threatening manner. You told me, if you don't do this, you threatened me today and yesterday. And I told you, until I found out more about, I have to actually read ethics, where the ethics violation is. And we're always constantly talking about the separation of board members and tenants. So you're basically, the only reason I was taken to court because I failed my apartment yearly inspection. So why, I still can't figure out how that is an ethics violation, because happen to be on the board. It didn't happen in the board. Nothing happened during board time. And I think that this is just, and the fact that you won't even admit the fact that how you even knew that I went to court when it was kept under wrap, and I kept it very confidential. The fact that you knew, then it means that there was a lot of talking and breach of confidentiality.
Are you finished? Because I will respond to your accusation about my integrity.
Right. My integrity, you just blasted my integrity on public television.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I found out was in December when I was going through the invoices. There was an invoice from our attorney, and when there is, and there's not invoices from the attorney every month, but it's usually for housing authority cases, so I went on to the publicly available records for housing authorities. Anybody with an internet connection can get it, or go to the library and get it. And saw that you were in housing court with the housing authority.
But why would you even
And
bother
when
looking it up?
Because I'm verifying the accuracy of invoices submitted. When I saw your name, then I realized, oh my, that is likely a ethics violation for you to continue when you're in direct conflict with the board of the housing authority. To be in conflict with the housing authority, and the simple, easy way is to temporarily recuse yourself and make a brief self-disclosure that satisfies the Ethics Commission, and then recuse yourself from deliberations and voting
The
in
ethics,
housing authority matters until your conflict is resolved, and then welcome back. We have no
Welcome back.
authority.
Yeah, right.
We have no authority, the board has no authority to recuse you. We only have authority to censure you. And the next step would be notify the select board, and then they have their own process. But so we really have to do that. And then the third is to report our complaint to the Ethics Commission about the violation without self-disclosure, or that you didn't self-disclose, so now we have to report to the Ethics
You told me
Commission.
yesterday that you already reported it to the Ethics Commission.
I did not.
Now you're changing your story.
I did not.
You said to me, Sue, I'm sorry to say this, but I reported you to the Ethics Commission.
I did not say
That's
that.
exactly what you said.
I did not say that. I said I contacted the Ethics Commission for advice. And their advice to me was that I contact our housing authority attorney, and
That's not what you said. I was part of the conversation. You're changing it now. You said, Sue, I'm sorry, I had to report you. And I said, what is it in you that you feel you have to report your commissioner? You're supposed to be working with your commissioner, not constantly reporting your commissioners.
I tried to work with you, Sue, and you refused. I tried to explain.
You threatened me. You didn't try to work with me. You threatened me.
We will move on. So we have the motion. I call for the vote. Rich?
Yes.
Crystal?
Yes.
Sue?
What? What do you want me to?
We have a motion on the table to censure you.
Oh, I have to censor myself?
You don't have to. You're voting whether you're going to or not.
Yeah.
So you're censoring
of
censoring
course
yourself?
not.
Okay, so what's your vote?
No.
Okay, and my vote is yes. Sue, you are censored. The next motion is to, whether or not to notify the select board in a formal letter of these events, and that we found out about this conflict of interest. And then the select board has their own process. We have nothing to do with it. But I am going to suggest, instead of asking for Sue to be removed from the board, that we ask for a temporary recusal. The select board can recuse Sue for a period of time, and that time could be until this housing court conflict of interest is resolved. And then Sue comes right back on the board.
How does she get back on the board once she's off the board? Do we vote her back in?
No, she's not off the board. She would be
Well, temporarily.
recusal.
So
Yeah,
temporarily.
she wouldn't come to meetings. We could ask that she not come to meetings until,
I understand what that means. I'm
until
asking, yeah.
the conflict of interest is resolved,
Right.
which would
Right.
be the housing court case is
Right,
closed.
but I'm asking.
But it's a year, the
Excuse me,
case is
excuse
gonna
me,
be a year
excuse
away.
me.
Sue, you
Right.
don't have the
I'm
floor,
asking
Crystal
you,
does.
How will she get back on the board once she's temporarily removed? Not the timeline it takes. Would she be able to, once it's over in court, just to sit back down?
Yeah.
Or do we vote her
Yeah,
back
we
in?
would, she would have to notify us that the conflict of interest is resolved because the housing court case is closed. And then we welcome her back.
No vote or anything, she just comes back.
Because it's already set up in the, we don't have anything to do with it. The select board would be who would order a temporary recusal.
Right, and then after that, for her to come back
Mhm.
on, she would just sit back in on the
Mhm.
meetings. be like that.
Absolutely, as a full board member.
No
But the
voting
case
on
is
it.
not going to be heard for another year.
It's not true.
Because of the fact I'm getting, the agreement was to check my apartment 3 different times, 3 months apart. So that means for a whole 9 months, I won't be able to be on the board. This isn't a cut and dry in front of a judge. This was a mediation.
Sue, I am so sorry you put yourself in this situation. It is caused, as you can see.
How about if you put me in this situation, maybe?
You can see.
On purpose.
If it wouldn't have
Yeah.
been me, it would have been somebody else file an ethics complaint,
Right.
okay? And bring this to
Somebody
the
else, right.
attention of the board, because it's publicly available information. And you're
But nobody
accusing.
looks at things like
Okay,
that.
that's it. So,
Let's-
can I get a motion that we, as a board of commissioners, notify the select board in a formal letter of a conflict of interest by a tenant board member, and ask them for a temporary recusal until the conflict is resolved, which means the case is closed in housing court?
Do we include in there what the conflict is?
No.
We just ask for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there isn't a way to ask the board to make a decision on a term before she can come back, or are you requesting until it's over?
We
Just so I know.
cannot recuse a commissioner.
No, I
Okay.
said, can we put in there, ask them for a timeline of when she can come back if this case is taking too long? Or do we say in the letter, we want her to be temporarily removed
Yes.
until the case is over?
Yes, that's great verbiage, that's great, yeah.
So it has nothing to do with the fact that I have cancer, that my apartment wasn't up to par, but I have cancer in 2 parts of my body, my breast and my brain. No apartment would be spick and span when you've been going through the illness I've been going through. And I feel that you're, as a board, being very heartless, considering I told you I lived here 21 years and passed 20 inspections. If I didn't pass this 1 year, I hope to God someday that you people don't get ill when you're going to be inspected when you're not feeling well.
Are you finished?
Yes. And I
Okay, so
feel
we
that you,
have-
especially you being an ex-nurse, I really feel that that's out of character for
Well,
us.
that's why I asked her, Sue, if this had anything to do with.
Yes, it
the
does. It's
apartment.
everything to
Okay,
do with it. She's-
Sue,
Yes.
that's why I asked her if this had anything to do with the apartment.
It
And
does.
she said no. She said it's the fact that since you're on the committee and you're in court.
But it's
that's
about
the
my
con-
apartment.
That's the conflict of interest. So anything else that you feel has come against you in any form, I believe that should be discussed outside of the board. It's not a personal matter to discuss while we're dealing with the finances and so forth of the housing authority. Now, I do understand how you're feeling, I do understand where you're coming from, and I understand where Reese is coming from. However, we do need to move this meeting on, and we do need to speak more about what's happening with the executive director and the report. Anything else regarding this matter should be done.
Can I just say one more thing?
Sure, Sue.
It does have to do with my apartment, so what she's
Okay,
telling you
so
is
you
is
said one more
not
thing,
true.
it does have to do with the
Yes.
apartment, and as I stated,
So
anything
you're-
else
she's
regarding,
lying to you.
anything else regarding this apartment matter should be discussed off
But you're
camera.
voting because of the apartment.
Okay.
No, we're not.
Neither one of you have the floor anymore.
Right.
We are moving this on to a motion. Can I get a motion to notify the select board in a formal letter of a conflict of interest of a commissioner who happens to be a tenant, and ask them to temporarily recuse the said commissioner until which time that commissioner is no longer in a conflict of interest with the housing authority and the board of commissioners. Can I get a motion?
Motion made.
Okay. Second, I'll call for the vote because we've already had ample discussion. I'm not taking it around again. Rich?
Yes.
Crystal? Sue? How do you vote?
How do you think I vote? Of course,
Okay,
no.
I have to ask you, you have to say yes or no. You said no. Sue's vote is no. I say yes. Motion carries. The third is that as a Board of Commissioners, that we report the complaint to the Ethics Commission. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'm not going to, because I don't believe that's, so I'm just, that's why I keep asking questions. The ethics violation that you're reporting to the ethics committee is that she's in court with a matter and she's on the housing board, right? That's it? That's the ethic violation, correct? Nothing to do with her apartment?
It has nothing to do with
Okay.
her apartment.
That's it. Yep, I'm good. I just wanted to be clear on that, because from what Sue's saying and what you're saying, it's two different things, and I need to be correct because I am part of this committee, and I need to vote correctly, and I need to make sure that my motion and my okays is what's best for the committee. So if
Okay.
it's nothing to do with the apartment, and it's because she is definitely in court, and it's a violation because she's on the committee, then yes, I second.
You second? Okay.
Can I just point, it's not just the two, and that she didn't disclose it. That's the ethics.
Well, my
That's
attorney,
Oh.
She did not disclose.
That's the violation.
That's
Yeah.
the- just that it
That's why I
wasn't- yeah, it's just-
understanding.
it's that.
Okay, so if she would have disclosed it,
my
it
attorney
would not have been an
Attorney's
ethics
a housing
violation.
attorney.
Right.
So if she would have disclosed it to the board on camera or to?
Yeah,
off
yeah,
camera?
public disclosure.
Okay.
Just that there was a conflict.
and my
Oh,
attorney would
okay.
have told me to do that. I
Okay.
had my
But you-
attorney.
I
So you do
understand
not
now.
have the floor.
I understand.
Crystal has
Yeah,
the floor.
I understand now.
Okay,
yes.
so Crystal seconds the motion. Now I have to ask for discussion. Rich, go ahead.
If we don't go to the ethics committee, what happens?
We become liable for the ethics violation in concert with, in other words, we have failed to file a complaint in like cahoots with Sue. In other words, the Inspector General's office has been very adamant because he's had to deal with cases of boards of commissioners being in cahoots, failing to report ethics violations when they knew ethics problems were going on.
Okay.
So we have to disclose to the Ethics Commission, or we become part and parcel of the ethics violation. Yeah, and I don't have an extra 1,000 to 25,000 laying around. I don't know about y'all, but, so,
Motion was already made?
Yeah.
the motions have been made, so I was asking for discussion. You had a question. Crystal, do you have any more
No.
questions or discussion? Sue, do you have any more questions?
My last question is, if you're telling her it has nothing to do with my apartment, then what are we not disclosing? Where's the ethics matter? You have to have an ethics matter related to a situation, then what's the situation? Me not reporting what to the ethics committee? I went to court for an apartment, dirty apartment, not passing inspection. Now you're saying it's not my apartment. So which you're not telling the truth. Where does the ethics violation come in if it doesn't have to relate to something? That's why I got taken to court. By you telling people who are sitting on this board that it has nothing to do with my apartment, you're not telling the truth.
From what I understand, Sue, as Pam said, it's, the whole matter may have stemmed from that issue. But the way the conflict is that you did not disclose that you have a conflict. That's what we're
With
voting
the
on.
authority.
You didn't have to say what it is. You didn't have to mention that. You know what it is. Sue knows what it is.
Risa,
I'm sorry, Reese knows what it is. Risa knows what it is.
I only know
But-
from reading the
But
publicly
the
available.
thing that
court
Pam
documents.
is saying, that's why I wanted clarity, is the fact that you didn't disclose that you are going to court. That's what we're voting on. So when it comes to the issue of why you're going to court, that's something that you.
I think
It's
just-
not,
I think
Sue,
it's just
hold
pure
on, hold on,
public
Sue,
humiliation.
Stop.
Right.
It's none of the board's business why you're in court. Any human being who's got an internet connection can find out the details by going online. They're publicly available. Every document you submitted, every document the housing authority submitted. So the thing is, the board doesn't, it has nothing to do why you're in housing court.
It has to do.
It has to do with the fact that you are in housing court.
That's-
And being in housing court with the housing authority means you're a tenant or receiving services. The next thing is you're a commissioner. That's the problem. You cannot sit on a commission making financial and legal and oversight of the executive director and policy decisions for the housing authority when you're in conflict with the housing authority. That's the problem. Nobody cares that it's your apartment that's the problem. That, in fact, you just told the whole world it's your apartment. Nobody else said it. So what I'm saying is we're required by law to make a complaint to the Ethics Commission because now we are all aware that you failed to disclose. All this
I'll
time.
just say one more line.
One more.
Don't you think, because I had an attorney and we made a contract with Hadley Housing Authority, that it would have said that I had to report this to the ethics committee? It was a signed, sealed contract. And so that would have been part of the contract. You coming up to me outside yesterday, telling me I had to report myself, is not the same as a court of law. We
Sue.
went to law and I followed the contract.
I'm gonna stop that right now.
And I do believe
That's
that you
between-
like to publicly humiliate people.
Oh, no.
You have a
this is
history of it. I've been
devastating.
watching it for
Can we move
years.
this? Can we
You
move
need
the
to
question?
stop.
Right.
Can we move the
Sue,
question?
it's between you and your attorney if you're unhappy with their services.
I make a motion to move the question, please.
Yes.
Right.
So we'll call for the vote. Rich?
Yes.
Crystal? Sue?
Of course not.
Yes or no? Okay. She's no. And I'm a yes. So we will do those three actions. Moving along, the next item on the agenda is we do need to do these October 29th minutes. It's taken too long, right? So the October 29th minutes were tabled from November and December, so we're going to do them today. We have to get through these minutes
Well,
today.
if I'm censored, do
Does
I have to
anyone-
leave now? 'Cause I'm
You
censored.
are censored, you can still stay. Censoring just means a public rebuke. You've been publicly rebuked by the board,
That's
period.
nice. Thank you.
Now, so now we're to Tuesday, October 29th minutes.
I might as well go then.
Can I get a motion? A public rebuke is not, you still have all your responsibilities to the board until the select board says differently.
Is that like having the scarlet letter hanging around my neck?
Yeah. Sue, I'm going to ask, we're done with that topic. We're moving on to approval of the minutes. May I get a motion
I'll make
to
a
approve?
motion to accept the
Thank you.
minutes.
Crystal, seconds, discussion. Rich is the first, Crystal?
Discussion.
I have, Sue, do you have any discussion about the minutes of October 29th?
No, I'm censored.
Okay. I have no discussion either. I'll call for the vote. Rich?
Yes.
Crystal? Sue? You have to say yes or no. Do you approve the minutes?
You just told me I was censored.
She said not until the states, until the select board and everything comes back. So you are still.
You're still on the board. You're still voting. So, do you understand that now? You still have a fiduciary duty to the board.
No, I'm not going to have a fiduciary duty at this time. I'm too hurt to participate.
Sue, I've called
Okay.
for the vote. How do you vote about approval of the minutes of October 29th? Yes or no? Because you were present at the meeting. So you vote no on
Right.
approval of the minutes. Motion carries 3-1. The next is approval of the minutes from November 19th, 2024. I will, let me see, where is my November? Can I get a motion?
I did the motion.
Rich makes a motion, Crystal
Yeah.
seconds. Discussion, Rich.
Nothing.
Crystal? Sue? I have no discussion, call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Rich and Crystal both yes, Sue?
No.
Sue is a no, I'm a yes. Yeah, I was at that meeting by phone. So, motion carries 3-0. The next set of minutes is Tuesday, December 17th. Can I get a motion?
Yes, motion.
Crystal makes a motion.
Second.
Rich seconds. Call for discussion, Rich.
Nothing.
Do you have anything, Crystal?
No.
Sue, do you have anything?
No.
Tuesday, December 17th. I have nothing. I was not present at that meeting, so I will call for the vote.
Yes.
Rich
Yes.
votes yes, Crystal votes yes. Sue?
No.
Sue votes no, I abstain. So the motion carries 2, 1 abstention, and 1 no. The next item on the agenda is the financials. Warrant reports, treasury report, and quarterly report. Pamela,
I don't have it.
it's stuck to the back of,
You can read it off.
Warrant report invoices, transactions between 12/1/24 and 12/31/24, which will be,
Oh, we're not.
it's on the 5th page in.
I guess, page
All the 5th page in, the total.
All right, $62,301.19.
That's it. Call for the motion, because that's a votable item.
I'll make the motion. Accept?
Crystal seconds. Discussion, Rich.
No. Nothing.
Crystal.
No.
Sue.
No.
And I have nothing. I'll call for the vote. Rich.
Yes.
Crystal. Sue.
No.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 3-1. So now we're down to treasurer's report. Pamela or Rich. Rich, are you doing the treasurer's report?
Yeah, it's just this page.
Yeah.
There's nothing really.
Yeah, there's nothing drastically different.
There's nothing
We are
unusual.
still working, I just want to draw your line, you're down to modernization, that we're still waiting for funds and reimbursement
19.
from EOHLC. The invoices have been submitted, we have not received them.
Yep. Okay, but so our treasurer's report is just this first page,
Yeah.
and then we go into
Quarterly?
quarterly. So we don't need a vote on the treasurer's report. So now we're to quarterlies, which do require a vote. And that starts on the 3rd page in that section. Because the 2nd page is the monthly income and expense, which is, yeah, yeah. So the 3rd page in is quarterly operating statement. And that does require a vote.
Yeah, so we are doing good. You see the 400-1
Yeah.
is part of both the 400, the 667 and 705 program.
Mhm.
Which page are you on, Pam?
Over 23,000,
Yeah.
She's on the
36.
second page. After the treasurer's report. It's page 2, after the treasurer's report. Oh, God, yours is
No,
different.
this is the quarterly.
No, she
You want a
was,
quarterly, yeah?
yeah, back up to the treasurer's report. It's on the second page of the treasurer's report. She was just making a mention. It's already been approved. It's
Oh,
already.
I know, that's why it's a quarterly. So
I
we're
know.
doing the treasurer right now, right? Just
No,
doing
we're
that?
done with that, and now we're to quarterly.
No, what you were mentioning was,
Yeah,
On the
okay.
treasurer's.
yeah. So,
all right, now we're moving on to quarterly.
so we're moving on to quarterly. I need a motion to approve the quarterly
I'll
report.
make the motion. We
I
approve.
second.
Crystal is second, and I note that Sue left the room at 12:14.
It's still here.
Sue left the room at 12:14, okay? So, and if you see her come back in, could you say, and then I don't have to stop what we're doing to mention it. Okay, so I have a motion and a second
Yes.
for quarterly. Okay, so I'll call for discussion. Rich?
No discussion?
No discussion.
Crystal? Sue's out of the room. I have no discussion. Is there anything you'd like to tell us, Pamela, about the quarterly report?
We're in good shape.
We're in great shape. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, so I'll call for the vote,
Yes,
Yes.
approve.
and I vote yes, and Sue is not in the room, so she can't vote, so.
I do just want to point out the modernization report if we can.
Yeah, that will,
That's under quarterlies.
it's under quarterlies, okay. Go ahead.
So this is your quarterly consolidated modernization report, and this is all of your active construction projects. And it just tells you monetarily where we are with what grant monies we have, what we've spent, and what we're still waiting for
Can I
reimbursement
see
for.
that page again?
Yeah, it's this one.
Yeah.
There you go.
This one? Okay.
Yeah.
And if you can just approve the quarterly modernization report, that would be good too.
Okay,
Please.
so,
So we just did that, didn't we?
no,
did
we
the-
just did the quarterly report.
This is the
Oh,
quarterly
modernization.
modernization. A
So,
little different,
separate vote.
please.
Okay, so motion.
I'll make the motion.
I second.
All right, I'm going to assume no discussion. No discussion?
No.
Okay, so call for the vote. Rich?
I,
Yes.
okay, yes.
Oh, yes.
Crystal's yes, I'm yes. Motion carries. 3 to absent. I don't know what else to call it. Okay. And that takes us past,
In the vacancy.
yeah, it takes us all the way to unit vacancy, I think. So go ahead, Pamela, unit vacancy, which requires no vote.
So again, just an update, so currently there's 5 units at Golden Court. 2 of them are the capital projects. 3 are newer ones that are being, we're working them first in, first out. And then the Berkway, the 2 are still the 2 capital projects for Berkway 2.
At
Now, it's still 2 since the spring, summer, fall, hasn't
For
gone down.
for the 705?
For the Burke, yeah.
Yes.
It's still the same. Okay.
big capital projects, correct?
Yeah, big
And so
ones,
it just
very
takes
big.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The next item is tenants account receivable.
Yeah, so their property management is making good headway. If you look down lower, under repayments, you'll see that we do have a new repayment agreement for a 667 tenant. So that they are, again, that's the ideal situation. It's a large amount of, that's the balance, that's not for that tenant, the four. It's not ideal that people owe money, but again, when we get them in a repayment agreement, it preserves the tenancy and the housing authority gets reimbursed.
That's what we want to do, is preserve tenancy and get them to take their responsibilities seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so you will notice the TAR balance is going down each and every month.
Yes.
So this
Okay.
one's going down also?
Yes, yep, so they're,
Excellent. Any other questions?
No payments.
there's payments. I'll double check those.
All right. Anything more on tenants account receivable, any questions? Okay. Sue has re-entered at 12:29.
1219.
Oh, 12:09, oh, thank you so much. 12:19. Okay. Now we're down to capital.
Can I say something? So from September of 2024, the repayment agreement, it seems like the 705 SFH has been paid off. Because it said 405 beginning, payments 175, TAR 230, but it's been paid off now, according to the January.
Which one
December.
are you looking at?
I'm looking at September.
No, there might be a new one.
December
There might,
1.
yeah, because December 24, we have 2656.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because it was empty here, so it must have went up in, it says as of December.
I'm sorry, were you looking at 667 or 705?
705.
And it was
So this says as of December 2024, 705 SFH repayment, beginning balance 0, TAR balance 0. And this is, for September, it says 405 and then 175, so I'm thinking that it went away.
Yes.
We paid it off, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes,
that's
she has a
good.
different figure.
That's good that
Good
it,
catch.
yeah, that's good that it's been paid off.
Yeah.
Which is excellent for the business.
Any other questions about tenants account receivable?
No.
Okay, then please let's move on to capital.
So
Give us
capital,
just
we
a brief update.
Just a brief update is that we are looking, we did have a kickoff meeting for the planning of the door project for Golden Court, which is, we had asked for front and back doors. We're getting an initial guesstimate from the architect of $8,000 a door, which is outrageous. So we're trying to see how we can get that at a lower amount. But once we get a preliminary plan, then I'll be able to take that and also apply for CPA money and see if we can get the project done. So that project is actively being worked on by EOHLC and the architects.
Right.
8,000 for the front and the back?
Yeah, each door.
Each,
Yeah, it's crazy. That's a crazy.
that's
figure.
insane.
16,000 for,
Yeah, 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 I understand prevailing wage and that costs have gone up, but
Yeah,
that
no.
seems very
That's
high.
a lot.
We're hoping it was a very high
Maybe
guesstimate.
it was an extra zero.
Right, right.
Someone forgot to put the
I
decimal.
think you're right, like
Right.
1,600 for 2 doors sounds far more reasonable than 16,000.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're pursuing that, and then we have another capital, how are those, the
Back.
705s and the 667 capital projects coming? Where are we?
705 is still like a snail's pace, and they're gearing up to be beginning with the 2
For the 2
ADA units.
capitals here.
How's
Okay,
that going? The
Two
ADA.
is still too slow than I would like, but
It's moving.
it'll happen and then it will happen quickly.
Okay.
Once it gets going, it'll be a
Mhm.
quick project.
That's great.
okay, so the next thing, where are we at?
work order?
Work order report, wherever that went.
I don't know, that's,
Oh, there they are. Pamela,
We'll get one.
you want to do the work orders?
Oh, if you want to just, it's just for knowledge, so if you have any questions, just let me know.
Anybody have any questions about work orders? Work order report.
Yeah, you go.
And these are from 12/1 to 12/31/2024. So any questions?
So where it says vacancy, that means that no one lives there?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so they're, it looks like to me they were in vacancies, trying to get them ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Turnover
it says,
works, yeah.
It
And,
doesn't seem like there's too much that the housing authority has to actually do, because if you don't have to do much maintenance, that means you're maintaining. So it seems that the housing authority is maintaining it very well, because upstairs bathroom fan is loud.
Yeah.
stove is not getting, minor things. There's nothing major, like there's no heat, or I smell gas.
You shouldn't have said that.
Depending on who the tenant is.
Yeah,
Why?
we have been lucky so far this winter in Hadley we had a little bit over at Burke Way. But we have replaced a boiler and a water heater over at Burke Way. We have had a lot of no heat in Amherst.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the systems are old, and then when we replace them, that'll work. But we have been lucky to date, but the winter's not.
Knock on wood, I'm
Knock
so
on wood.
sorry.
Well, we replaced a bunch of boilers a few years
Oh,
ago
absolutely.
over here in
Yeah.
Concord, so we're not having trouble.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I mean. If there's no major maintenance, that means that it's being maintained properly, which is
Yeah.
good to show where the money's going.
Right.
So Pamela, this is a good time to talk about how, just briefly, how the facilities director actually has a maintenance plan. They check, they inspect, they preemptively maintain things so they don't break down, correct?
Yes, we've had for years a preventative maintenance schedule that we have, you attempt to follow it as much
Yeah,
as
right, of
possible.
course. Yeah.
There's tweaks.
Yeah.
UHLC has a very good outline of that, and we just tweaked it for each development, and we've been doing that for years.
For
That
years.
it's being proactive.
Well, ever since Amherst took over, we had the maintenance staff to do preventative maintenance. Prior to that, we had a guy 16 hours a week. And it was just constant putting out fires and stuff breaking down. But now we've got preventative maintenance and it's preserving our physical plant.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so next is board correspondence. Sue, did you have any board correspondence you want to disclose?
No.
So the first item is 2025 town election nomination schedule. Pamela, you submitted that. I'm going to assume the town sent that to you or something?
I did not submit that.
You did. Somebody submitted it. Okay. Good. Where did it come from?
Town clerk.
Town clerk, that's what I was thinking. Okay. So looks like the town clerk sent out the election calendar. The town meeting is Thursday, May 1st, and the town election is Tuesday, May 20th. We have 2 commissioners who are up for term. So I guess, Rich, this is when we ask you,
No,
You can ask.
No,
we can ask, don't ask, huh?
don't ask. We'll-
Don't ask,
You can ask
don't
and
tell.
don't-
Well, she'll do it for you.
So Rich comes up for,
You said no last time
He-
he's here.
so it says last
Sue,
day
you
to
do not
obtain
have the
nomination
floor,
papers.
Please. So nomination papers, thank you.
Sure.
Nomination papers, Rich, will you be pulling papers to run in this election? Okay. So Rich Whitkus will be leaving the seat that he occupies. The seat will be a 5-year term, and papers have to be pulled by March 28th and submitted to the town clerk. Or no, it says last day to obtain nomination papers is March 28th. Last day to submit nomination papers is April 1st. Okay, so, and then Crystal, who was filling someone's, a seat for the last year of the term, is up. Will you be pulling nomination papers?
Yeah.
Yay!
Will
Okay.
that now go to a 5-year term?
Yes, now,
'Cause
oh,
I
it's for a
served
4-year term, so she's just, I think what if I remember right, the select board would only appoint for a 1-year term, and then you could pull nomination papers for the remainder of that term. Is that right?
Yeah, it says for 4 years.
Yeah.
But I think you could take his spot if you wanted to do 5.
Yeah, that,
I
I would,
would.
yeah,
Because then you wouldn't have to
Yeah.
run again.
yeah, that's a good
And then
idea.
we'll ask Rich to go to 4.
Rich doesn't want to be on the
Rich,
board.
Rich looks
Oh.
like he
Oh,
doesn't.
you're trying to,
You can
you're
ask all
trying
you
to,
want.
you're trying to coerce.
He'll never
Of
leave.
course, of course.
He'll never leave.
It wasn't supposed
Okay.
to be here this year.
So will you pull papers then for that 5-year term
Yes.
that Rich is, the
Yes.
seat Rich is vacating? Thank you so much, Crystal.
Can they pull papers prior to March 28th? I would think, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can pull nomination papers now, start getting your signatures and all that mess. And then they'll just have to find somebody to pull papers for the 4-year term.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's, I guess, there's nothing else to say about that. I still have 3 years on my term. Sue, you still have, no, I have 2 years left on my term.
Or that is not on that paper.
So it's not on that paper because it's not up. And Sue still has 3 years left on your term as of the,
Yeah, they do try to stay.
try, they insist on staggering, we don't even have. Okay, so the next thing is fair housing policy percentage update. This is a votable item. This, I believe, it just came down and we have to
Yes.
sign this. So Pamela, you want to talk about it?
So this is the Fair Housing Marketing Plan that was approved several years ago. Every year or so, we update the demographics. So that's the only thing that is changing is the demographics. And I have put a little under, under 5. Should be 5. The demographics for Hadley, I put updated 12725. So it shows, so we are compared to the metropolitan area of Springfield as our census. And then you compare Hadley with Springfield. And we are actually doing very well. And then because we have met our quota, so we're just doing
Excellent.
Yeah.
This is excellent. As you know, I'm on a different board, so this is
Yeah.
something I would love to mention if I can.
Absolutely, you
Thank
can
you.
take, once you folks approve the
Yeah.
minute, you can take a copy of it, and
Thank you.
It's wonderful. We're doing good.
we are doing good.
How come we have to go with Spencer? Why don't you go to comparable like Amherst or?
Well, you would have, we had thought like Northampton, because it's the
Bigger.
bigger town, but no, because it goes by the federal census, and they made it Springfield is the
Yeah.
data.
Okay.
So it is challenging for other housing authorities. Hadley is very unique too. While it's a small town, it does differ from Belchertown, which we also manage, that you have access off the highway, you have wonderful transportation, you have jobs. It's a beautiful area. Well, Belchertown is also a beautiful area, but it's a smaller rural town.
Not
And
too
it's
much
hard-
public trans.
No, almost nothing for public
Yeah.
transportation. So it makes it very hard to attract, and we're just able to attract folks and keep them. So that's
Wonderful.
good.
I'm just surprised by the numbers for Hadley.
Yeah.
That's great. That's excellent.
So I'm going to call for the motion, then we can get into discussion. Rich, would you like to move that we accept this?
I'll make the motion, we accept. Fair housing.
Wonderful. Now call for discussion. Rich, any discussion?
No?
Crystal?
No.
Sue?
No.
And I have nothing. I'll call for the vote. Rich?
Approve.
Crystal?
Yes, I approve it.
Sue? Approved. And I approve too. That's 4-0. Wonderful. So moving on is the policy subcommittee report, Board of Commissioner Code of Conduct draft. Rich and I sent out the draft for this Code of Conduct that the board voted that we work on as a policy subcommittee.
We did?
Pardon?
When did you send out the draft? I didn't know.
It's in your email. I hope. Oh God, did I make a mistake? Let me double check.
Maybe you did.
Girl, you get so many emails, it'd be easy to lose it. Let me make sure I did. Yep, right there, January 15th. All the commissioners got a copy. So anyway, this was sent out on January 15th to every commissioner. Rich and I actually started working on this with a vote from the board, God, it's been over a year ago. So it was in 2023. when it came to our attention that the town of Hadley had adopted a code of conduct, and then through looking up code of conducts, we found that Hadley's code of conduct came about from the, let me get this right, I'm gonna mess it up, the name of this place. From Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, which provides insurance for towns. And that includes all the boards, commissions, committees, et cetera, operating in the town. Now, housing authority boards are a little different. We're a state agency. So it's not like we had to, we didn't even like come under Hadley's code of conduct because we're a state agency. So, but when we looked at it, and the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, they highly recommend it. And the reason, I'll tell you a little bit about the history. The reason is that when meetings went online because of the pandemic, they were recorded in perpetuity by places like Hadley Media, which meant that the entire world could see what was going on, right, Alex?
Yep.
And there were a multitude of complaints and some lawsuits against select boards for their behavior to public and other committees, et cetera, throughout the state that are under open meeting law requirements. So the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association is the insurer of municipalities and towns, and they came out with this code of conduct, you know, basically saying you have to adopt this if you get our insurance, or get your insurance from us. So Hadley adopted it. It's a template. There's been a couple of versions. Rich and I looked at, initially, we looked at their first version, but they kept working on versions of templates, and the last one we could find was July 7th of 2023, which appears to be the one that Hadley ended up using or finally editing to, and then they adopted it, their version that applies to Hadley, adopting it on July 19th, the select board did. So it controls the conduct or gives directions to boards and committees and the select board about their conduct. And it applies majorly to housing authority boards. So what Rich and I did was go through those drafts, pick out what worked for housing authorities, because like it or not, we've got a lot of different rules and regs. Our whole mandate is different. We have fiduciary duty. Most boards and committees don't. And so we had to adopt or adapt Hadley's and the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance people's template to something that would work for a housing authority board. And that's what we came up with draft one for a code of conduct for the board to consider. And there we are. So I'm going to open it up for discussion first, because I am going to tell you there needs to be even some further changes as I read more about the Inspector General's requirements, the Ethics Commission's requirements, not so much for open meeting law, because that's pretty much been standard for a while. But there's always new cases that that Attorney General publishes that would impact us, and I'll try to keep a watch on the findings in their rulings, and we'll modify as needed. But Rich, do you have anything more you'd like to say about that? Because,
No, I think you did it all.
okay,
I have to read it.
yeah.
I have to read it before I read it.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said. We wouldn't even vote on accepting it now, because I could tell you that after reading it again, it might take several reads before we,
Oh.
because
Hopefully with the next meeting, we should have it together.
maybe,
Yeah.
but we can hope. But the thing is that more heads are better. Once you get to this draft form, we need everybody's ideas.
Can we do a subcommittee on it, so we don't?
We have a
to-
subcommittee, the policy subcommittee, and we can't add more, but
What
what
is
you,
the committee, you and Rich? Is what I'm asking.
we have a subcommittee, it's Rich and I.
Oh, okay.
So until, so the thing is if you could maybe make notes about changes you think would be advantageous and helpful, and then next meeting, we can discuss everybody's input about changes.
Right, but can I come to you before the meeting so this
Yeah.
way? Okay.
Yeah, because this is a policy for the Board of Commissioners.
Right.
It does need to be discussed in public, but if you say, hey, this needs to be reworded, or this, I think maybe bring it to the next meeting so we don't violate any open meeting.
Well, that's why if it's a
Yeah.
subcommittee, it's just you and I, it won't violate the open.
Yeah, but the subcommittee is me and Rich, and we can't have 3
Well,
people,
if I come just to you,
because then I have to come to Rich, and then that's
Right.
3 people, that's open meeting law.
it's deliberation.
Yeah, so just bring it to the next meeting.
Okay.
If we want to have a special meeting before the next meeting, we can do that too, just for the code of conduct.
Yeah, I just
depends
was
on-
wondering, because I'd rather get it done sooner than later, so
Me
we don't
too,
have to waste
yeah.
so much time in the next meeting, because,
You could have a
Let's have a special meeting and
Yeah.
get this done.
Where you don't need the whole format of the meeting. you
Right,
have it
just the code of
Yeah.
conduct.
working.
Yeah.
I don't know if
That's
Ellen's
a
would
great
come.
idea.
Put it on the calendar, we'll be there.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Crystal, you're
Yes.
probably really busy, so do you
never too
have a?
busy,
Oh, come on.
never too busy.
Do you have a date or a time that would work best for you, though?
Well, how about you give me when you're available, I can see if I can find anything to work around that, so that we can all come together on your availability.
Does that, I'm best in the mornings.
Tuesday mornings, like we.
Yeah, Tuesday
Tuesday
mornings are
mornings?
pretty clear,
Good or not?
but I do have to check a calendar because this is.
No worries,
especially-
but so far Tuesday morning
Okay,
is
so
fine.
let's negotiate on the date and
You
time.
didn't ask me about my
And-
opinion when we were going down the road.
I am going to,
Right.
but it looks like the board wants to have a special meeting. Now, we are going to email and try to come up with some dates for a special meeting.
Yes.
Okay? Does that sound good, Pamela? And Pamela doesn't even need to be there.
No.
Pam Creek might need to be, because you'd have to take minutes for this. Or, he's your minutes. Okay, Alex, you are now.
Can't get her.
Even me or Nick will give me the minutes.
Okay, great. So if you can come, fine. If you can't, it's okay, because we have Alex, okay?
Or Nick.
Huh?
Or Nick.
Or
I'm sorry.
Or Nick.
Or Nick,
Yes.
either one. Okay, we have Hadley Media, irrespective. Now, does anybody have any comments, Rich, about this? Anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay, I have nothing, you have nothing. Sue, you have something you want to say?
I've said it before, but I'll say it again. As you said, this is something we don't have to do, but you chose to do it as a subcommittee and as a board. But Golden Court was built in 1965. 60 years boards function without a code of conduct, regardless of how well you feel they function. So I feel that we're focusing in the wrong areas and need to start looking at other things other than codes of conducts and things similar. More rules, regs, policies, which you happen to be loving to focus on.
Sue, are you finished?
No, but I said it again, just repeating where I'm coming from.
Okay, do you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay, So this was undertaken after a board vote, that the policy subcommittee would look at this code of conduct. That was done over a year ago, and we finally are able to do it and as a policy subcommittee, and now we're working on it. And so it was a board vote. You got the opportunity to say everything you wanted to say at the time, and so that's why we've moved forward, because we were directed to by the board. Okay, so the next thing is,
We gonna set a date?
she said, she's got to look at her calendar, I got to look at mine, okay? But
We're gonna
we're,
look at Tuesdays.
yeah, we're basically looking at Tuesday mornings.
Okay.
So, okay, so the next one is future meetings.
Are you able to be available for Tuesday mornings if that's what we're selecting?
I don't know, I have to look at my doctor's appointments.
Okay.
Okay, so the next thing we're looking at that is February 25th at 11 a.m. That's already scheduled for our future meetings. And then the one after that proposed is April 1st. And the reason why not March, whatever, 25th or whatever it was, is because there is a Mass Narrow Housing Conference on that day. Right?
Going again.
Right, so we have to delay it, and we can't do it before then because our executive director is very involved with Mass Narrow, and she's going to be hopping busy. So we have to do this from time to time, is move the, from the last Tuesday of the month to something. So April 1st at 11 a.m., that's the proposal. It doesn't require a vote, it just requires a assent by the board. What do you think?
I think that's fine.
It's fine for me, fine for Rich. Sue, how's that work for you?
I didn't think I was allowed to attend anymore. You said I was censored.
You're
So why would
censored,
I be
but you
coming?
still attend, you still deliberate, you still vote until, if and when the select board makes any determination in your case. So it would be April 1st, 2025, and that's proposed. Are you okay on that date? Do
I'm
you
not
know?
sure.
You're not, well, please send me an email and let me know. So number C is items for future agenda.
I would like to put in a few things that get in this time.
I forgot something on policy subcommittee, you guys, I'm so sorry. Just a second before we get to, it's been a,
Yeah, I know we got through some stuff.
So the policy subcommittee, Rich and I looked at every single policy that is in the binder in the office, which is like the official place, and in our board binders, you also have a pretty much full list of policies. We did find a couple that were either missing from the Board of Commissioner binder that were present in the office binder, or the reverse. But we'll work with Pamela on getting everything updated. So what I wanted to say was, Rich, the majority of these policies, there's no notation that they were ever reviewed, and EOHLC is now asking boards to review policies every 4 years. Some of these, and that's kind of new, they've always said, look at your policies, but there wasn't a definitive thing, and now in the training it says every 4 years. So these are things that a policy subcommittee should be reviewing, working closely with the executive director on, to review these policies. Do they still apply? Should we, whatever we need to do with them. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that, and that is also in your, well, it was in the board packet on yesterday, but I don't know if it's if you got one today, if it's in there. But anyway, so any questions about that? No. Okay. Now, items for future agenda. Do you have anything, Rich?
I have nothing.
No.
Crystal? Sue?
Yes, a change of subcommittee, because I feel the subcommittee now has been on the committee long enough. It's time to give other board members a chance.
Yes, and I think we already agreed that once this code of conduct is complete, and because you don't want to change
You don't want to change, I do.
You don't want to change out a
Right.
subcommittee that's been working on a policy for a year and a half in the midst of that policy. It just makes things too confusing, and I believe that's what we decided last meeting. So changing doing what you suggested, absolutely. Let's get through this code of conduct, let's get it done, and you see that list I told you about? There's gonna be plenty to work on, okay? That is why I did not put that on today's agenda, because we just addressed it I think I wasn't here in the meeting in December, but I think you addressed it then, if I remember.
Yeah, we did. I was a
Okay.
couple months ago, and you mentioned it, and I said that things can change because now we can have more. But, and then Risa did say they're going to work on the conduct, and I said, send us a copy so we can all have our
Yeah.
input.
Yeah,
And that's what they've done. They've created it, and now we're going to look at it, and that's why I was asking for a subcommittee, so this way we do not have to wait for the actual meeting
Yeah.
next month. We can have a time and date now
Yeah.
where we can all come
Yeah.
together and decide together as a collaborative.
so it's not a subcommittee that's gonna be looking at the code
No.
of conduct from now on, it's the entire board.
Right.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about, is having a meeting of the entire board, a special meeting.
What paper is that you just showed us for the,
Yeah, it was it was in all the packets that were printed off yesterday.
oh gosh, I'll just print it off when we're done.
Well, it's not in your electronic documents, I
No,
brought
I
them
mean,
over.
make a
Okay.
copy, sorry.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
let me leave
make a
this out.
copy when we're done, yeah.
Somehow or other, my questions about conflict of interest law training and open meeting law training were left off the agenda, but since I didn't say about topics, anyway, we'll have to save that for the next meeting. I am going to implore all the commissioners to please, I've been asking since, I think, September or before, bring your certificates or emails saying you completed, either forward me the emails or print them out, give me a copy, give Pamela a copy,
Oh, you
okay?
just did yours on January 19th, another one?
That's the first I could
For
do it
2025.
because the conflict of interest training is timed out,
No,
like you can't.
I'm
Yeah.
saying because they sent me another one to do.
Okay,
I
so
guess
that
I have to do
means
it
you're
every
due.
year.
It's supposed to be every 2 years.
Every
but
2
No,
years,
no,
okay,
but
yeah.
there
There's
has
been a
thing.
there's been a big push this year that they've sent them out.
Yeah, because they sent me a new email to do it now, so I have to redo, so I'll do that and bring it my next meeting.
Okay, so here's the thing about the conflict of interest law online training, which is different.
Yeah.
In the past couple of years, you'll need, as the public, I need you to be silent for now. So, they require you to take the training, that's what this is. And they also yearly require a knowledge receipt of the summary of the conflict of interest law. That's yearly, so that might be what you're,
No, I had both.
I know you've done both.
No, I have both to do now.
Oh,
I did
really?
one, which
Okay.
was already, just you go
Okay.
in, you acknowledge, and then now the other one, I guess because
That's
I've been on
my-
the boards
for
for more
the
than
file,
2
okay.
years.
Okay, thank you.
So I probably, because I've been on the boards more than 2 years. and that's
Yeah,
why they
you're
sent me
due, yeah. And the same thing with open meeting laws, just they give you that acknowledgement email that you've attended or whatever.
it. This-
And, yeah, that's it.
That's not that one.
This, yeah, that
That's it.
is.
That's
Mhm.
that one?
To complete the
Yeah,
conflict of
okay,
interest. Mhm.
because there's one that I did and they sent it to me, so.
Yeah.
That's probably another one.
And I'm gonna heads up warn you guys, and we're still under commissioner's discussion, I'm gonna heads up warn you guys about something. Yeah,
That's the completion certificate. This was done on January 16th.
you're good.
So then I'm all set then.
Yeah, but just send me a copy of your certificate
That
for
certificate
your
of
file.
completion, right?
There you go.
Okay.
And the person really important to send it to is Pamela, because she is required by law to maintain the records. And you have to submit them to Pamela, okay? And also the town clerk.
Yeah, Yeah, I have to do it.
Okay? Yeah, Pamela and the town clerk. Okay.
All
There's
right.
one more thing, well, hold on, there was one more. Oh, I want to head you all up about the E EOHLC Board of Commissioner training. I think I might have found out what has been the problem, that you think you've taken the training because it said module completed. It happened to me this past 2 weeks, so I took the training, it was well over an hour, thought I was done, and it turns out that was just the first module. So the new training is not 5 modules, it is 7 modules.
Yeah.
And it is so long.
Yeah.
It would, yes, okay?
I did all of it, and I did get my certificate for
Good.
completion, but it is very long.
It's very long.
I
It's
don't think you can do it in one day.
It is
Unless you don't have anything else
extremely, right, you don't even go to the bathroom or eat, right?
I know.
It is extremely detailed,
Yeah. It covers
with
a lot.
lots of new
And we say
information.
a lot of new information
Lots.
is in there.
Yeah.
So it's really good to take it and have a better understanding of a whole
Mhm.
lot.
They do give you the option to print off every single
no.
module, which is extremely detailed.
That's definitely hurting the environment.
Well, you can save it as an electronic file on your computer and not print it out, okay?
Yeah.
So you print to your, e-documents folder. But anyway, so I just thought I'd heads you up. So if you think you took it and you completed it, likely you didn't, because
Yeah,
that
if
was
you didn't get
just
that
such a
certificate,
shock. Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't get the certificate, you definitely didn't.
Yeah. Okay, now we're at the, unless anybody has anything else they want to say about it, okay. So now we're at public comments, and so I'm going to read this out. We have 2 members of the public still here, okay. So during the public comment period, the chair asks the public to address the chair with their comment. So if you have anything to say, please address me directly. And when called upon by the chair, please identify yourself by stating your full name and address. In accordance with open meeting law, the chair limits the scope of public comments to the agenda items and may curtail public comments in the interest of time as needed. The commissioners appreciate, we really do, the public's observations of the business meetings, but do not respond to public comments. So we have 2 members of the public here. Would either of you like to comment?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
All right, then I will call for,
Make a motion to adjourn?
I second.
and I third, and can I get a vote? Yep, 4-0.